Why won't this flat sell? That's the question I found asking myself when one of my properties became vacant. The estate agent told me it was perfectly fine to market it as it was. But when I walked through the property myself, I disagreed. Today I'm going to show you exactly what I saw, what I changed, how much it cost, and whether a relatively small investment could help me achieve a higher sales price or even a quicker sale. Let's take a look around. This is its current condition. The estate agent said it's actually alright in the condition it's in, but I don't agree. So we're going to do some works to it just to make it look even better. The garden isn't in great condition. It's not very welcoming, so we'll give the garden a little tidy up. This is what greets you. So these two mats look terrible, to be honest. So I'll get those replaced. So as we head in, there's a big crack right in front of us here. So we're going to try and sort that out. That's the first thing that kind of, smacks you in the face as you enter. So on the left hand side, we've got this kitchen area. It doesn't look too bad. I mean, it all looks clean and functional. It has been cleaned, but obviously there are bits everywhere. It's all chipped. There's flies. So yeah. So if we look at the living room, so you might not be able to see it in the video, but the walls are stained. I mean, here, for example, it looks like there was a leak historically. So yeah, lots of stains and marks along the walls. We had this flat previously fully furnished and we're renting it out. So, like the cushions aren't in great condition. They've seen better days. There's cobwebs all over the sofas. There's photos missing. So we move on to the bedroom. We've got this air freshener here that looks horrible. Empty shelves. Again, we've got another kind of moisture trap that doesn't look great, to be honest. And then we got this area down here that looks like it requires attention. It doesn't look great, to be honest. The finish isn't great. So that one needs changing. So these are the beds, and it comes with a wardrobe as well. So it just looks like it's, seen better days. So if we move on to the other bedroom, I'm not sure if you can see this behind the bin. All this area needs painting and decorating. If we move on to the next bedroom, it doesn't look too bad. Lots of stains again on the walls, the mattresses. Just the presentation isn't great. This area is okay. That's not too bad. Again, we've got these, what are they? Scented dehumidifiers. But don't look. All the frames as well, they look like they've seen, better days. This area's okay. Bathroom is actually in pretty good condition. My only main concern here is that this bathroom area here, doesn't look great. Your eye is kind of drawn to it straight away. And there's no blind either here. Other than that, it's all functional. So yeah. We're looking to, refurbish, paint and decorate. Especially like these things here, for example, there's a crack above. So we want to fill that crack, paint the ceiling, paint the walls, paint the skirting boards, just make it look a lot nicer than it is at the moment, a lot more presentable. Now, if I'm being fair, there was nothing fundamentally wrong with this property. The kitchen worked, the bathroom worked, the heating worked, the electrics worked. In fact, I'd previously rented the flat fully furnished and achieved around £1,450 per month. But buyers don't buy functionality, they buy emotion. And when I walked around this property, it didn't feel like a home. It felt tired, it felt neglected, it didn't smell very nice, and it felt like a formal rental property, which it was. Now, some of you might be thinking, Rav, nobody cares about a doormat or a few stains on a wall or some tired cushions, and maybe you're right. But property buyers don't judge each item individually. They judge the overall feeling, and that's what I'm interested in. Not whether a doormat adds value, not whether a cushion adds value, but whether all of these small improvements together change how buyers feel about the property. Because buyers don't buy properties logically, they buy with emotion. One of the biggest mistakes I see investors make is assuming buyers see what they see. As property investors, we're trained to look at floor plans, rental demand, square footage, refurbishment costs. Buyers don't. Buyers walk through the front door and often make an emotional decision within seconds. The question is, can presentation change that emotional response? Before spending a penny, I invited a number of local agents to value the property. Most came back with a suggested value of £265,000. But I didn't stop there. I think one of the biggest mistakes sellers make is accepting a valuation without understanding the evidence behind it. So I asked, what comparable sales support that valuation? Who is likely to buy this property? What competing properties are actually on the market? How long is it likely to take to sell? Would staging help? Would including furniture help speed up the transaction? And what could I do to maximize the chances of achieving the best possible price? Because evaluation is only part of the story. Understanding buyer demand is often far more important. And what was interesting is that the conversation quickly moved away from price towards presentation. The good news is that none of the issues we identified were major. We're not replacing kitchens, we're not replacing bathrooms, we're not knocking down walls. We're simply improving the presentation, fresh paint, attention to detail, better styling, better photography, and then we'll compare the results. Okay, the work is now complete. Same flat, same floor plan, same location, same square footage. But does it feel different? The property itself hasn't changed, yet I suspect most people react very differently to these photographs. And that's fascinating because if property hasn't changed, what exactly are buyers responding to? Buyers don't buy property, they buy a vision. This is where I think many sellers make a mistake. They assume buyers make decisions logically, but I don't think they do. Buying a home is emotional. Buyers are imagining their future life. Their morning coffee, their evenings on the sofa, working from home, having friends and family around. The easier you make that process, the more attractive your property becomes. And that's why presentation matters. One of the biggest lessons I've learned over the years is that buyers don't buy a property. They buy a vision of their future life. The property itself is simply the vehicle. When a buyer walks through the front door, they're subconsciously thinking, could I live here? Could I work from here? Could I picture myself coming home here every day? And if the answer is yes, the property immediately becomes more valuable in their mind. The bricks haven't changed, the location hasn't changed, the floor plan hasn't changed, but the emotional connection has. What's interesting is that you don't necessarily need to physically furnish a property to help buyers visualize it. Increasingly, developers, estate agents, and property investors are using virtual staging. This property has been digitally staged. The furniture doesn't actually exist, but it helps buyers visualize the potential. Developers have been doing this for decades through show homes and show flats. Virtual staging is simply a cheaper version of the same idea. Personally, I think if the walls, flooring, and kitchen and bathroom already present well, virtual staging can help be a very cost-effective solution. The key is transparency. I would always show both the original photographs and the virtually staged versions. The interesting thing here is that the furniture wasn't the biggest change. The biggest change was fresh paint, refreshed woodwork, decluttering, better styling, professional photography. The furniture simply helped bring everything together. So here's the question. Have we actually added any value? The property hasn't changed, but has the perception changed? Could better presentation create more viewings, more competition, a higher sales price, £5, £10, £20,000, or does it make absolutely no difference? Because sometimes the goal isn't necessarily to increase the value, it's to increase demand. And increased demand is often what creates the higher sales price. If you take one thing away from this video, it's that don't just sell property, sell the vision. Whether that's through furniture, photography, staging, virtual staging, or simply better presentation. Because buyers don't buy square footage, they buy the future they imagine within it. The lesson here isn't that everyone should rush out and buy furniture, that's not the point. The real lesson is that make it easier for buyers to visualize themselves living in your property. Sometimes that's furniture, sometimes it's decluttering, sometimes it's better lighting, sometimes it's professional photography, and sometimes it's staging. And sometimes it's simply presenting the property differently. Looking at the before and after photos, what do you think? Did presentation make a difference? How much more would you pay? £5, £10, £20,000? Let me know in the comments below. Would you sell this exactly as it was? Or would you have physically have staged it? Or would you have virtually have staged it? I would love to hear what you would have done. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.